Chapter 1951. Back then, he came to sign up out of admiration. His goal was to become Sir Lu Yun's last disciple. Wait. Let me interrupt as well. Qi Xianxian couldn't help but ask, are you talking about the famous Sir Lu Yun of the 6 prefectures continent? I seem to have only read some legends about him in storybooks. I've heard about him from a storyteller. The little fatty raised his hand. Zhou Danjin nodded, but after a year and a half, he still hasn't seen Sir Lu Yun, so he... Oh right, you guys still don't know, right? Young Master Lu Yun is actually your elusive principal. Zhou Danjin thought that the group of children might not know who young Master Lu Yun was, so he explained. Everyone's expression was like, the sky is going to rain red. What? You're saying that the number 1 expert of the 6 prefectures, Sir Lu Yun, is our principal? The little fatty had a strange expression. So, the student Zhao Li who was looking for trouble just now, because he hadn't seen the principal for a year and a half, he ran away? Sigh, it's because of this student Zhao Li. His talent is quite good. So, the cultivation plan that us instructors came up with for him is a step-by-step method that supports his characteristics. Furthermore, Instructor Wei Wei had spent a lot of effort on Zhao Li's cultivation method. That brat's sudden betrayal really made your instructor Wei Wei sad. Shut up, Zhou Danjin. Wei Wei's angry voice came from behind. Zhou Danjin hurriedly spoke faster. So, actually, Instructor Wei isn't born with a cold face. You guys should be a little more understanding of him. Student Qiao, Instructor Wei Wei only wants to temper your character and suppress the sharpness you exude. To put it bluntly, it's also for the sake of your future cultivation. Don't think that he's intentionally targeting you. Zhou Danjin. Okay. I won't say any more. Zhou Danjin immediately shut his mouth and walked to the side with a smile, starting another day of nagging. Students, it's up to you to win glory for the academy in the semi-finals. Everyone silently glanced at him before turning their heads away in unison. Instructor Zhou's face was filled with helplessness. When he received the looks from Endless Blade and the others, he laughed awkwardly and said, "The dean is right. This batch of students is very energetic." The distance between Anping Inn and Shanghua Martial Arts Arena was only about a quarter of an hour's walk. By the time everyone arrived at the arena, the main people in charge of the tournament were already seated at the entrance. The 3 of them were all veterans in charge of competitions. Over the years, all the big and small competitions of the 6 prefectures academy had basically come to their family's arena. Therefore, the people in charge of these battle arenas were quite familiar with the various instructors of the various academies. Ah, Instructor Zhou and Instructor Wei from the top academies are here. One of them quickly stepped forward and cupped his hands towards the crowd with a smile. Please come in. The seats have already been arranged. Thank you. Zhou Danjin smiled and cupped his hands at the person in charge. Mr. Hong is the main judge of this competition. There are also some things that you need to pay attention to. Everyone, please take a look at the rules and regulations. The person in charge handed Instructor Zhou a piece of red paper with many rules written on it. Only then did he turn around and call for the servant beside him to lead everyone in. Zhou Danjin nodded his head in thanks. Chapter 1952. As soon as they entered the ring-shaped arena, their ears were flooded with noise. The servant led them to the seating area and respectfully bowed to Zhou Danjin. Instructor Zhou, you can sit here. Then, after an hour, the first drawing of lots will take place. You can send a student to the arena to draw lots. You should all be clear about the rules of the competition, so I won't repeat them. Oh, okay. I'll take my leave. If you need any snacks or fruits, you can go to the sales area to buy 1 or 2. The servant pointed to the side of the ring-shaped seating area. Everyone turned to look, and couldn't help but feel speechless. It turned out that the big shots of the arena had thought of a way to do business this year. There was a sales area next to the seating area, and at first glance, there were indeed melon seeds, snacks, fruits, and quite a variety of food. As for the price, it was hard to say. They would probably have to use materials to exchange for one or two, so there probably wouldn't be many people buying. Everyone took their seats. Instructor Zhou flipped through the red paper with the rules written on it, and after looking at it for a while, he said to everyone, "The rules this time are about the same as the previous years. The semi-finals are a competition between the academies. Specifically, before the start of the competition, a student will be sent to the arena to draw lots. If you draw the same number, you'll have a martial arts competition. After that, when there are only 30 academies left, it will officially enter the final round. At that time, the new rules will be followed. With so many academies, the semi-finals this time will probably take around 10 days. In the past, it was settled in 7 days." After Zhou Danjin finished speaking, he turned to look at Arbor. "Student Qiao, you go up to the arena to draw lots." Arbor glanced at Instructor Zhou with an indescribable expression. "Reason. The reason is really too simple." Instructor Zhou's face was smiling like a chrysanthemum, and he was overjoyed. "Everyone knows, it's 3 words. You're lucky." "Everyone, weren't instructors just 3 words?" Instructor Zhou looked at Arbor with a smile. "Student Qiao, what do you think?" "Nothing much," Arbor said indifferently. "I'll tell you the truth. My luck has always been erratic. With this draw, I might be able to draw the strongest team." "Which team is the strongest?" "Of course it's the top 3 from last year. Heaven Bestow Academy, Auspicious Academy, and Sunlight Academy." "Are they very strong?" Qi Xianxian was stunned. They didn't know much about Heavenly Bestowing Academy, but Auspicious Academy had been wiped out by JoJo when they were in the underground base. "Guan Ying's team isn't the only one in Jiaqing Academy." Instructor Zhou waved his hand. Jiaqing Academy was ranked 2nd in the last Academy ranking tournament. Their captain, Li Nanshan, is very strong. The last time we met, she had already broken through to become a level 10 great spiritual master. In the individual rankings, Li Nanshan is ranked 3rd. Don't you think she's strong? You little shrimps. If you run into Li Nanshan's team, you'd better surrender obediently. Zhou Danjin curled his lips. "Instructor, what are you talking about?" Mota's sudden shout almost made Zhou Danjin jump up in fright. "What the F***CK, this little bastard," roared into his ear. "Instructor, we will definitely work hard to bring glory to our academy." Chapter 1953. Zhou Danjin gazed at his students with a gratified expression. The dean was right, they were indeed a group of hot-blooded youths. "All right, students, then whether or not the instructors will achieve meteoric success this time and whether or not the academy will be able to raise its status in the 6 prefectures continent will all depend on you," Zhou Danjin said with a smile before turning to look at Qiao Mu. "Student Qiao, let's make a deal. You'll go draw the lots right away. Jojo, draw one for us." Everyone grabbed her small hand excitedly. Arbor looked at them expressionlessly, thinking that the students would say something encouraging. In the end, Little Fatty said loudly, "The weakest team." "Pfft." Qi Xianxian burst out laughing and pushed Little Fatty's hand away. She jokingly scolded, "Go away." "Instructor, what you're saying is that after we draw lots, the 2 academies will have a group battle?" Arbor blinked and asked. Everyone inexplicably noticed that the little fellow's eyes seemed to be sparkling. At the mention of a group battle, her expression was especially comical. Instructor who waved his hand and smiled. "Of course it won't be as simple as a group battle." "Oh, of course, if the 2 academies agree to a group battle, that's fine too. Usually, the way 2 academies battle is a one-on-one challenge. Of course, it can also be a one-on-one challenge." "Understood." Everyone nodded in unison, their gazes shifting to Duanmu Qing. Then they'll just have to let Duanmu Qing go later. Duanmu Qing only felt that the way Little Fatty and the others looked at him was a bit off, and he couldn't help but shudder. "What are you looking at?" Everyone laughed foolishly and shook their heads. At this moment, a few more teams were led by the manservants of the arena and walked towards them. When they passed by, they nodded to each other as a greeting. Those who sat in their area were usually from academies that weren't very famous. Big academies like Sunlight Academy, Moonlight Academy, and Jiaqing Academy were all seated in the front row. Their small corner was separated from the front row by 40 to 50 academies. Auber took out a bag of sunflower seeds and snacks, but before he could eat them, the people around him had already grabbed them. Miss Chow lowered her head to look at the empty bag before turning to meet the smiling Prince Mo's eyes. She angrily put away the empty bag and took out an apple to chew on. Half an hour later, all the seats in the circular area were basically filled. A spirited old man quickly walked up to the middle of the grand tournament stage and said to the people seated around him, "All right, can the 677 academies that have passed the preliminaries please send their student representatives up to the stage to draw lots?" The old man's voice was not very loud, but his words penetrated everyone's eardrums and were heard very clearly. "Student Chow, it's up to you." Mata and the others said excitedly. Auber stood up, only to hear a roar coming from the front. "Someone from Jiaqing Academy will definitely win. Who drew the perfect lot in the Sunlight Academy?" The roar was earth-shattering. Little Fatty said happily, "Jojo, how about we help you shout too?" "Yes, yes, yes, we'll shout for the top academies." "Shut up." Chow Mu glared at them while sweating profusely, and her small face was dyed crimson red. His face was so hot and embarrassed. "Shout your sister, it's so tacky." Chapter 1954. Jojo's blushing. Before Mata could finish his sentence, Prince Mo glared daggers at him, scaring him so much that he swallowed the rest of his words. How preposterous! Only he could see his wife blushing. The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal sat beside him, munching on melon seeds. He said in a down-to-earth manner, "Sigh, I think there's going to be a good show to watch this time." Auber ran all the way to the arena area. She followed the crowd up the stairs and onto the martial arts stage. With Crown Prince Mo and the others' outstanding eyesight, they naturally saw the little lady standing at the edge of the martial arts competition stage. She was bored to death as she stared at those people who were desperately trying to squeeze into the center, as if they could draw lots earlier if they squeezed in. The martial arts stage was about 100 feet wide. It didn't seem crowded even if a few hundred people stood on it. However, everyone was eagerly trying to squeeze in, making the few people at the edge stand out. All right. Line up and draw lots in order." The number of academies participating in the semi-finals this time was beyond the expectations of the martial arts arena manager. With so many people drawing lots one by one, it would take about 15 minutes. "All right, line up and walk through the lot pot in order. Don't hesitate and don't stop. If I find out that any of you are using your spiritual awareness to read the contents of the lot pot, it will be considered cheating and you will be disqualified." The crowd was in an uproar, but after the old man's reprimand, the noise quieted down. They hurriedly lined up one by one and walked to the big table where the lot pot was placed. With one person following another, the drawing of lots was actually quite fast. If anyone deliberately stopped, they would naturally receive a stern warning from the old man. It was only when the people who had drawn lots all lined up on the other side uneasily that the people on Chow Mu's side started moving slightly. One of the young men nodded at Auber and said, "Miss, please go first." Chow Mu waved her small hand, indicating for him to go first. It was only when most of the people had left that she dragged her feet and nonchalantly lined up at the very end of the line. Didn't Instructor Zhou say that she was lucky? She refused to let him have his way and dragged him to the last one. She resigned herself to fate and let God arrange whatever team for them. Teacher Zhou saw that her attitude was negative, so he would definitely not let her go on stage to draw lots tomorrow. One by one, they drew lots. In the end, the young man also drew a bamboo stick. He turned around and nodded at her before standing to the side. Auber pursed his small mouth and walked forward proudly. His small hand felt around inside the bamboo tube for a long time. Cough. It wasn't until the old man coughed lightly that she raised her head and glared at the old man. "Where's the signature?" The old man's mouth twitched, and he said with some amusement, "Little girl, you don't have to smoke anymore. Just now, this old man said that there are 667 academies participating in this round of competition. Naturally, one of them will be given a bye. Congratulations, little girl. Your academy has a bye. Everyone was speechless. Aber, the old man, ? This little girl had an indescribable expression on her face. What was going on? Student Yu, what's wrong? At the table, Shan Shinran, who was also from Tianxi Academy, narrowed her eyes and looked at Yu Guei, who was sitting next to her. She had always felt that Yu Gui's relationship with Jiang Qi and the others in the team was a little strange. The sixth watch ended. Chapter 1955. Shan Shinran looked at Yu Guei and the others suspiciously. She still felt that Yu Guei, Jiang Qi, and Lu Ling were a little strange. She could say that they didn't have any relationship, but sometimes they would inadvertently reveal that kind of familiar gaze, which made Shan Shinran believe that it was impossible for them not to have any interactions. If they were familiar with each other, but after interacting for a day, Yu Guei and Jiang Qi had not spoken more than 5 sentences. If they were familiar with each other, then they were too good at holding back. Shan Shinran looked at Yu Guei again, looking like she wanted to get to the bottom of it. What's wrong, Yu Shueo? Your face doesn't look good. Are you okay? Where do you feel uncomfortable? Yu Guei suppressed her excitement. She almost didn't need to look back to know what kind of mood the few junior sisters sitting behind her were in at the moment. A few pairs of eyes flashed with a faint light. Inch by inch, they struggled to leave the stage, suppressing the desire to rush back to the sect and tell everyone that our little junior sister is here. Glancing at Shan Shinran indifferently, Yu Guei said coldly, "Oh, I'm fine, sorry for troubling student Shen." Shan Shinran's face sank slightly. Damn it, it was this kind of lukewarm attitude again, making her warm face stick to a cold butt again. She was the daughter of the Shen family, born to be superior. If not for the fact that Yu Guei and the others had good aptitudes, she would be too lazy to rope them in and try every possible way to bring them into her family. A group of cowards from the lower star domain, shameless. She was willing to give them an olive branch, but these guys who didn't know what was good for them, not only did they not give her this olive branch like dogs, they even dared to go against her and hide everything from her, the leader. This was simply outrageous. Shan Shinran looked at Yu Guei and the others coldly, thinking in her heart, people probably only understand how important opportunities are when they are in a desperate situation. Yu Guei and this group of people were destined to become dogs that she, Shan Shinran, could order around at her beck and call. Just wait and see. A dark light flashed past Shan Shinran's eyes. At the same time on the battle stage, the head judge in charge of the students' drawing lots, the old man Hong Qi, looked at the young lady in front of him with a complicated expression. Could it be that she was not excited and unhappy? This was the first round of the semi-finals. At the very least, it would save their entire team 1 to 2 days' worth of combat power. The other academies might be exhausted from fighting today and tomorrow, and they would still have to continue the second round of the competition, but wasn't that a good thing? But the little girl's expression was obviously a little off. Little girl, which academy are you from? This old man will help you register. Hong Qi coughed lightly. A top academy. Instructor Zhou jumped up and shouted at the old man from afar. The old man was speechless. Zhou Danjin beamed with joy as he waved his paw at the little person in the center of the stage. He nodded with a gratified expression. As expected of our lucky student Xiao. Prince Mo and the venerable Peach Blossom Immortal wanted to laugh. Based on their understanding of the little fellow, they guessed that this child originally wanted to secretly poke fun at Instructor Zhou. In the end, things didn't go as planned. Miss Chow expressionlessly watched as the elder finished registering her. She nodded at her and said, "Congratulations again, student. You've helped your academy draw a bye." Chapter 1956. Everyone, let's give a round of applause. Congratulations to this extremely lucky student from the top academy. Aber's face was stoic as all sorts of feelings welled up in her heart. Everyone below the stage clapped with all their might. Instructor Zhou, that idiot, shouted, "Good job!" In between. Everyone on the stage had an indescribable expression as they looked at this little girl with a stoic face. Why was it like this? If they had known that they would be last and automatically get a bye, why did they have to squeeze in the first place? They spent so much effort, but in the end, they couldn't even compare to the girl who was leisurely last. Our dear Qiao Mu sighed. Sure enough, everything was fated. It wasn't up to her. Now that her luck had come, there was no way she could stop it. Next, please count off your numbers. Those who have the same number, please line up in pairs. Everyone immediately sighed and lined up according to their numbers. Qiao Mu also drooped her head and dejectedly walked down the martial arts stage. The rest of the matter had nothing to do with her. Everyone in the seats looked at this little girl with a stoic face as she walked down and curiously looked at her a few times. Yu Gui's gaze fell on the little girl. When she saw her stomp past her on the stage, her hands on her knees clenched into fists. Then, her breathing gradually calmed down. She couldn't be anxious. But how could she not be anxious? Yu Shueo, are you okay? Shan Xinran heard her breathing become heavier and couldn't help but be a bit surprised. Yu Gui silently lowered her head and secretly decided to leave Shanghua Arena before looking for her little junior sister. The little girl returned to the top academy's seating area and was surrounded by a group of people. Everyone was scrambling to give her a head rub, but who would have thought that someone would suddenly raise an arm and carry Miss Qiao over? You're not allowed to touch her. Each and every one of them wanted to touch his wife. How could he let that happen? Sigh. Qiao Mu sighed and sat down next to Crown Prince Emo without a word. She then fished out a carrot and bit down on it with a crunch. She was a bit depressed. What should she do? Look at Instructor Zhou's blooming chrysanthemum face and how he was smiling. Just looking at it made him feel a little vexed. Zhou Danjin praised with a smile. Thank you for your hard work. Qiao Mu cast him a silent glance before silently shifting to sit down next to Crown Prince Emo. Her large eyes darted around as she dryly remarked, "Occasionally, I get lucky." "Don't worry, your luck will run out tomorrow." "It's not just occasionally." Instructor Zhou chuckled. "You're being modest, aren't you? Let me tell you about Jojo." Zhou Dan moved closer to Arbor, but there was still Prince Emo between them. Noticing the Crown Prince's cold gaze drifting over, Instructor Zhou coughed dryly and stepped back. With a face full of smiles, he said, "For this competition, we'll send you to draw lots. I don't think anyone has any objections." "No problem, no problem." Everyone shook their heads. In terms of luck, if Jojo claimed second place, no one would dare to claim first place. Arbor's little face was expressionless as she chuckled. Other than the fact that her voice sounded like she was laughing, her delicate eyebrows didn't even twitch. Everyone thought that the little girl's expression was a bit funny. "See you later." Arbor's little face was tense as he tugged at Mo Lien beside him. Mo Lien understood and stood up. Chapter 1957. Since there was no need to fight, what was the point of her staying here? Of course, she was going to do what she was supposed to do. The young couple waved their sleeves and floated away. Shichen, Little Tai Sui, Infinite Blade, and the others naturally couldn't be bothered to stay here any longer, so they also left. Director Zhou laughed awkwardly and reached out to touch his nose. "That's right, everyone. Let's watch how other people play the game and learn some experience from it. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated." Instructor Zhou speechlessly looked at the back of the students' heads as they turned away. "All right, children, as long as you're happy." In the other room, Shan Xinran frowned and turned her face. There was a dense crowd behind her, so she couldn't see what Yu Gui was looking at. However, she knew very well that Yu Gui's mind wasn't on the competition from the beginning. Shan Xinran said coldly, "It's our academy's turn soon. Yu Gui, Zhongqi, you guys better focus. Don't get eliminated in the first round." A crisp laughter came from beside Shan Xinran. The girl who spoke was in her early 20s, and her apple-like face was glowing with a smile. She deliberately tilted her head and put on an innocent look, as if she was just teasing them and didn't mean any harm. Zhuang Meng, don't worry. We'll be responsible for ourselves and the competition to the end. Yu Gui replied indifferently, then turned her face away and didn't look at Shen Xinran and the others anymore. Zhuang Meng shrugged. Alright. I'm just worried about you guys. After all, although we belong to two different teams, the total points will be counted together. Yu Gui ignored her, and Zhuang Meng felt bored. In reality, Shen Xinran and Zhuang Meng were worried for nothing. With Yu Gui's strength, the first few rounds before the semi-finals were simply a one-sided slaughter. Soon, Yu Gui led Jiang Qi and the others down from the arena. They didn't return to their seats, but walked out of the arena together. Where are you guys going? Shen Xinran and Zhuang Meng's voices suddenly sounded behind them. Two pairs of eyes looked at them with scrutiny. We're done with the competition, so we're going out for a walk. Lu Ling said indifferently. Yeah, it's a bit stuffy here. Seniors, please pay more attention to your team's upcoming match. Shen Xinran smiled. I feel that you guys are very strange. Could it be that you guys are spies from the other academies? Yu Gui's face turned cold. What do you think the Heavenly Bestow Academy has that we would covet? Oh, no. The spiritual techniques of the Heavenly Bestow Academy are at least of the earth level. Who's after your spiritual techniques? Little Canon Fong Su laughed mockingly. That's all you have. Fong Su, watch your attitude. Shen Xinran said angrily. What a joke. A few country bumpkins from the lower star region, after living in the 6 prefectures continent for a few years, did they think that their horizons were higher than the natives of the 6 prefectures? Aya, we're all schoolmates from the same academy, why do you have to make such a fuss? Shut up. You're already so old and you're still pretending to be cute. Do you think that just because you have the word cute in your name, you're really cute? Little Pao opened his mouth and attacked directly. Disgusting. Every time she spoke, she would speak in a coquettish tone. Sorry, I'm a woman. You can't be coquettish with me. You. Zhuang Meng was hit by a barrage of verbal attacks. She was so angry that her whole body was shaking. Chapter 1958. What's the fuss about? A middle-aged tutor from Heavenly Bestow Academy walked over with a dark face. Tutor, they left without permission. Yu Gui said with a cold face, we've already finished competing. It's fine after the competition? That tutor reprimanded without any explanation. You think that you can be proud just because you've successfully advanced to the first round? We didn't say that. Yu Gui's face darkened. She pursed her lips and looked straight at the middle-aged tutor. This tutor had always been on the side of the Shen family's eldest daughter. Compared to the Shen family, Yu Gui and the other girls had no background. If it weren't for the fact that they were quite talented, how would they have the chance to stand here and represent the academy in the competition? Arrogant and self-satisfied. No organization. The middle-aged tutor reprimanded with a dark face. Even if you've finished competing, can't you stay and continue watching Shen Xinran's team compete? Xinran and the others are your teammates. I don't know what's going on in your heads all day. You're so weird. You don't think about things you should think about, and you blindly think about things you shouldn't think about. Go back and sit properly. In the future, pay attention to team unity. Don't act on your own. Little Canon Fong Su was about to explode in anger. Just as she was about to speak, Chan Hanzi pressed her hand down forcefully. Got it. Yu Gui nodded coldly. She glanced indifferently at the smug Shen Xinran and the others, then led Lu Ling, Fong Su, and the others back to their seats. That middle-aged tutor also followed them back angrily. He glanced at Yu Gui and the others from the corner of his eyes. When he saw the indifferent expressions on their faces, he couldn't help but explode in anger. They really couldn't be taught. 2 days later, the students from the top academies entered energetically, attracting the attention of many other academies. Everyone whispered among themselves. The top academies are really super lucky. That's right. Look at them. They haven't competed in the past 2 days. Unlike us, we're exhausted even after resting for a night. Arber had just sat down when Tutor Zhou's Maitreya Buddha laughter sounded in his ears. He, Student Qiao. I'll have to trouble you to go up and draw a lot this time. Arber glanced at Instructor Zhou from the corner of his eyes. He slowly got up and walked towards the stage. When he arrived at the battle stage, he realized that everyone was hiding in the corners of the huge battle stage, leaving an empty area in the middle. The men and women who had been standing in the corner with her yesterday all looked at her helplessly and stood in the middle of the room. Oh, they've all learned their lesson. Arber's eyes flashed, and he naturally walked to the first place and stood still. Since so many people wanted to snatch the empty slot, he would give it to them. Arber had just stood still when the old man's angry voice came from the side. What are you all doing? All of you, line up. Line up. What are you all doing in the corner? Those who don't line up within 3 minutes will be disqualified. Today, there are 339 academies participating in the martial arts competition. All of you, line up and draw lots. Don't dawdle and fall behind. Old rules. Whoever cheats with spiritual sense will be disqualified. Everyone looked at each other. Everyone wanted someone else to line up first. They were fighting over the last spot. What a joke. Everyone knew the routine. Who didn't want to get a bye? Who didn't want to advance naturally? Miss, how about I draw first? Chapter 1959. Arber waved her hand. That guy from the day before had come again, but she didn't need it. First place was first place. It didn't matter. Qiao Mu took the lead and pattered to the bamboo pot. She casually picked a stick and pattered to the side to stand. Whoever wanted to be last in line to take advantage of the free draw, let them be. In any case, Jojo didn't want to go on stage to draw lots again tomorrow. Everyone finished drawing lots. Only then did the old man nod his head and look at the stupefied student at the back of the line. This idiot was holding a bamboo stick in his hand. He was probably wondering why he still had a stick in his hand when he was the last in line. Shouldn't it be a free draw? Isn't everyone curious why the last in line also has a stick in his hand? Everyone suddenly had a bad premonition. The Shanghua martial arts arena was really full of tricks. It was impossible to guard against them. Now, just like yesterday, stand in pairs according to the corresponding numbers. The old man stroked his beard and said with a smile, 0, don't look for others. Come out and stand next to this old man. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. Only then did they realize that the free draw this time was 0. Everyone quickly found their corresponding teams. Some were happy and some were sad. When they saw that their opponents were weaker than them, they were naturally happy. When they saw that their opponents were stronger than them, they immediately hung their heads dejectedly. Miss Qiao held the bamboo stick in her hand and stared at it for a long time with a strange expression. Then, she slowly moved to the old man's side with the speed of a turtle. The old man stroked his beard and smiled at the crowd. When he felt that someone had moved to his side, he smiled and turned his head. Lucky little guy, you got the free draw, huh? Why is it you again? Arber had an indescribable expression and looked at the old man with a strange expression. On the martial arts stage, the student representatives from the other several hundred academies simultaneously looked at her. Those pairs of eyes were like daggers, stabbing at Qiao Mu's body with a swish. If it happened once, it would be luck. If it happened twice, then it would be the ancestors burning incense. How could this little girl be so infuriating? Teacher, I suggest that we don't let this girl draw lots on stage next time. That's right, let them change their representatives. At the end of the day, Instructor Zhou's wild laughter rang out again. Old mister. It was time to register. Same old rules, a top academy. The old man looked at the indignant representatives speechlessly. He coughed lightly and waved to Arber. Little girl, come with me to register. Don't worry, there won't be a bye tomorrow. The old man hurriedly tried to calm everyone down. F***CK, next time I won't bring this girl along to draw lots. Yes, request for a change. Switch. Auber looked at the crowd innocently, turned around, and jumped off the stage without looking back, returning to his seat. 2 days ago, because there were many teams participating in the first round of the semi-finals, the competition lasted for 2 full days. However, as the participating teams were eliminated one by one, the strength of both teams increased. The competition in the next few days would not be too easy. It was estimated that the second round of the semi-finals would take at least 2 days of selection. In other words, the teams from the top academies who had hit the jackpot could relax for 4 days in a row. First 5 chapters. Tonight, more chapters. Today, more chapters. Chapter 1960. Shanghua Martial Arena. In the front row of the Qi Academy's seating area, Zhuang Meng pouted and tugged at the corner of Shen Xinran's clothes. Shen Xinran impatiently turned around to look at her, only to see Zhuang Meng pursing her lips at her. Shen Xinran followed her gaze and saw Yu Guei, Jiang Qi, and the others sitting in a row. Although they didn't say anything, it could be seen that they were in a pretty good mood. A faint smile hung on the corners of their mouths. Especially Yu Guei, this girl. She usually had a stern face all day long, and her features were rather heroic. At first glance, she didn't seem easy to get along with. But today's Yu Guei seemed to be a bit different from usual. Humph. Shen Xinran rolled her eyes and slowly turned her head. She asked one of the attendants who was following closely behind her, "Have you arranged everything?" "Yes, Mississippi. Everything has been arranged according to your instructions." Shen Xinran nodded, revealing a trace of disdainful mockery. She wanted to see, when a group of arrogant people walked into a hopeless situation, what kind of beast-like wails would they let out. At this time, the middle-aged instructor from Heavenly Bestow Academy slowly walked over with 2 other instructors. "Come and receive today's spirit-returning medicinal liquid." One of the instructors frowned and said, "Shen Xinran has 3 bottles. Zhuang Meng has 2 bottles, and everyone else has 1 bottle each." Yu Guei and the others accepted the bottles indifferently and returned to their seats without a trace of fluctuation in their expressions. Don't ask why Shen Xinran could have 3 bottles while Zhuang Meng could have 2 bottles. This kind of injustice was everywhere. Ever since they entered this Heavenly Bestow Academy, this kind of thing had happened frequently. If they were to fuss over everything, then it wouldn't be long before they would be angered to death. In this world, there was no place that treated everyone equally like the Holy Water sect. There was no distinction between the inner and outer sections. Whether it was the direct disciples or ordinary disciples of the 3 Peak Masters, their cultivation resources were basically the same. A paradise like the Holy Water sect, they would definitely do their best to pursue it for the rest of their lives. "Senior Yu Guei, do you want to go up the stage together?" Zhuang Meng tilted her head and put on an innocent appearance. Yu Guei ignored her, causing Miss Zhuang's smile to freeze on her face. Fong Su snorted. Following Yu Guei, the 6 of them walked towards the arena. Senior sister. Little junior sister didn't leave. During the first round, little junior sister finished drawing her lot and left with the Crown Prince of Mo Kingdom. However, in the second round, little junior sister was still sitting there and had not left. "I saw it." Yu Guei was also very anxious. In the past 2 days, the 3 mentors had strictly forbidden them from leaving the inn and wandering the streets. Shen Xinran and Zhuang Meng had been floating in front of them like ghosts all day long, so they had not had a chance to talk to their little junior sister. Little junior sister would definitely see them when they entered the martial arts competition. She wondered if little junior sister would misunderstand. "Senior sister, don't think too much. Let's deal with the current situation first." Jiang Qi whispered beside her. "Yes." Yu Guei nodded and took a deep breath with her 5 senior and junior sisters before stepping onto the arena. The opposite team was already standing in the ring. They had the same number of people as them. They were the students of Shuntian Mansion's Moonlight Academy. Senior sisters, please advise us. The 6 of them bowed courteously. Yu Gue and the other 5 naturally returned the bow. Subsequently, both sides withdrew their sharp blades at the same time and activated their spirit energy. Although the 101 votes weren't fully cast, I'll add more for you guys. Chapter 1961. Little fatty, Mata, look over there. Aren't those 2 people from Che Ruman's team? Qi Xianxian suddenly pointed at the stage and shouted, "Save them." Ma Ta nodded. Ko Hongwen also said, "Oh, I really didn't expect that the 2 people who participated in the entrance exam with us actually ran off to Moonlight Academy now? They really are quite good at mingling. I remember that those 2 people are called Pang Guang and Zhu Bozong, right? Seems like it. Jojo, do you still remember that Che Ruman?" Qi Xianxian asked curiously. "I don't think I've seen Che Ruman ever since Tan Fa captured her." Che Ruman had long died and turned into ashes that flew to God knows where. Arbor muttered in her heart. She originally wanted to answer Qi Xuanxuan's question, but when she landed on the stage, she suddenly paused. She sat there in a daze for a moment before abruptly jumping up from her stool and forcefully rubbing her eyes. Her movement of getting up was so big that it immediately affected the attention of everyone around her. Miss Chow forcefully rubbed her large eyes and stared fixedly into the distance. On the stage, those 6 nimble figures flew up and arranged the 6 long swords in their hands into a sword formation. They were filled with exploding spiritual light as they eerily swept towards the opposing team. Arba's heart was greatly shaken. Impossible. She shook her head as she muttered to herself. Just as her small hand was about to stretch out to wipe her eyes again, Prince Mo had already stood up and grabbed her soft hand. He gazed at the stage with narrowed eyes and said softly, "Jojo, it's your senior sister Yu Gue and the others." Arbor abruptly turned her head and dazedly stared at him for a while before turning back to stare at the stage. She shook her head. Impossible. Big liar. She buried their bodies with her own hands. Wasn't there not a single survivor of the Holy Water Sect's 800 people? Everyone said that the Holy Water Sect had been annihilated, and everyone looked at her alone with sympathetic gazes. Master died, 2nd Ant Master and 3rd Ant Master both died. All of the senior sisters were dead, weren't they? Emolien put her arm around her shoulders and said softly, "Let's just ask and we'll know. Look, your 6 senior sisters are all here. Perhaps the Holy Water Sect still has more than just the 6 of them?" Miss Chow's eyes were filled with a layer of mist. She turned her little face to look at him, shook her head vigorously, and said pitifully, "When I went up on stage to draw lots in the first round, they already saw me. If it's my senior sister, why didn't she come to find me?" Liar. It's definitely not my senior sister. Qi Xianxian and the others did not know what was going on, but they were able to understand a thing or two. Then, he turned his head to look at the 2 teams fighting in the arena. He looked at them thoughtfully for a while. Emolien's heart immediately ached when she saw her suffering. She nodded and said, okay. They're not your senior sisters. Let's ignore them." Liar. Arbor immediately retorted. The tears in his eyes were about to fall, and there was a hint of anger on his little face. "She clearly looks exactly like senior sister Yu Gue." Prince Mo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. When his baby decided to be unreasonable, she was even more unreasonable than anyone else. "Jojo." He softly whispered into her ear and used a handkerchief to wipe her sweaty palms. "Let's ask them clearly later, okay? Perhaps we left early in the last round, so they couldn't find us even if they wanted to. We have the sect's messenger talisman." Chapter 1962. Amused, Prince Mo pulled the little fellow to sit down and nodded. "Then why don't you take it out for us to see?" Arbor was momentarily dumbstruck. Her sect's transmission talisman? Miss Chow scratched the back of her head and secretly used her spiritual sense to push open the door to her inner world. After rummaging through her inner world, she finally found her sex transmission talisman in a nook and cranny. "Senior sister sent me a message." The little fellow's eyes brightened as she raised the sex transmission talisman in her hand. There was a small line of words left on the talisman. "Jojo, reply quickly when you see this." She left a message. Yu Gue. Yes, ever since she buried her martial aunt and senior sister's corpses, she had thrown the sex transmission talisman in a corner of her inner world and never looked through it again. "Jojo." Qi Xianxian leaned over and looked at her. "You found your companions?" Arbor nodded at her. The venerable Peach Blossom Immortal said with a grin, "Aya, an old friend from a foreign country is here. Shouldn't you bring out some good wine and let's drink until we're drunk?" "Foodie." Everyone cursed in unison, but when they heard the word food, their dog eyes lit up as they looked at Arbor. Arbor subconsciously pursed her lips, caressing the sex transmission talisman in her hand. Her gaze shifted to the arena again, only to see that the battle between the two sides had already reached its climax. Peng Guang released a circle of water spirit, trapping little cannon Fong Su in a water prison. Fong Su's cultivation was about the same as Peng Guang's, at the initial stage of level 14. After fighting for so long, she was a little tired. She was a little exhausted and couldn't break free of the water prison. However, senior sister Yu Gue and the rest were handling the remaining 5 people with ease. The battle would end soon, and victory should belong to senior sister's side. Little Cannon Fong Su was an impatient person. Seeing that her mystic energy was insufficient and she was trapped in the water prison, she took out the spirit-restoring medicinal liquid that the instructor had given her and gulped it down. If the spirit-restoring medicinal liquid could restore 1/10 of one's spirit energy, then it could at least restore 1/5 of one's mystic energy. When the time came, she would definitely be able to break free. Bound. Ah. It hurts. Pain. It hurts. Fong Su suddenly clutched his stomach with both hands, cold sweat rolling down his forehead. He only felt that when that bottle of spirit-returning medicinal liquid entered his stomach, it was as if a raging fire had ignited in his stomach, boiling and burning. Bam! Fong Su tumbled to the ground. When Yu Gue and the others saw this, they couldn't help but call out, "Junior sister," in a fluster. How could they still be in the mood to fight? They quickly rushed forward to check on Fong Su's condition. "Peng Guang, stop." Seeing that his team member wanted to take advantage of the situation to attack Yu Gue and the others, the Moonlight Academy team leader couldn't help but shout to stop him. Peng Guang resentfully withdrew his hand and stood behind the captain. Junior sister, what's wrong?" Senior sister, senior sister, senior sister. Fong Su clutched her stomach, her entire body emitting hot steam. Yu Gue reached out to touch Fong Su's forehead and was immediately shocked. Fong Su's entire body felt as if she had fallen into a furnace. It was terrifyingly hot. "There's a doctor in the arena. Quickly take junior sister to see him." On the side, Ming Xia hurriedly crouched down and carried Fong Su on her back. The 6 people directly left the Moonlight Academy team behind and rushed down the stage without looking back. The moment they rushed down the stage, they saw a slender figure suddenly appear in front of them like lightning. Yu Gue and the others raised their heads, and in an instant, their eyes all turned red. 8 watch ends. Chapter 1963. Quickly move her over there and lay her flat. Arbor didn't have time to reminisce with them as he pointed to an empty passageway. They naturally couldn't block the entrance to the stage, so as to avoid affecting other people going up to the stage. After moving Fong Su to the side, Arbor immediately opened his spiritual eye. After carefully taking Fong Su's pulse, Arbor used his spiritual eye to carefully inspect Fong Su's body. He saw that nearly 3/4 of her mystic energy had been used up, leaving only a portion. And this portion of mystic energy was strangely wrapped in a layer of black fluid. A type of heat poison. Not only could it make the poisoned person feel as if their internal organs were burning, if the dosage was large enough, it could even damage a person's normal mystic meridians. Once the mystic meridians were damaged, if there was no way to repair or reconstruct them, then the person's mystic cultivation path would be considered to have come to an end. Yu Gui and the rest surrounded the little fellow, but they didn't dare to interrupt and disturb her diagnosis and treatment. Arber had just taken out his needle bag when he saw a middle-aged man with a twisted expression charge forward in a rage. He grabbed Yu Gui and the rest and roared furiously, "Yu Gui! Is this how you lead the team? You clearly could have won the competition just now. But you all ran off the stage without permission before the competition ended? Where is the Academy's honor?" Ming Xia picked up an empty bottle of spirit liquid and threw it heavily in front of that instructor. With a pop sound, the bottle exploded at the instructor's feet. "What kind of instructor are you? You actually gave poison to a student. Now that you've eaten someone's life, are you happy?" Something like this happening in the seating area naturally attracted the gazes of many people from the other academies. Everyone didn't even pay attention to the intense competition as they all looked with interest at the students and instructors quarreling in Heavenly Bestowing Academy. The instructor actually added poison to the medicinal liquid that the students took? What kind of exciting news was this? The middle-aged instructor's face was naturally flushed red, almost unable to maintain his composure. He stared at Ming Xia and angrily reprimanded, "What nonsense are you spouting? Don't vent your anger on your own instructor just because you lost the competition. Whether I'm venting my anger or not, you know better than anyone else." Chen Hanzi, who was at the side, said with a cold expression, "Everyone, take out the potions that the instructor gave us." Other than Fong Su, who drank it all in one gulp, the rest of them didn't touch the liquid on their bodies. At this time, hearing Chen Hanzi's words, the rest of the people took out the medicinal liquid from their pockets and placed it beside Arber. Arber swept his eyes over them and casually picked up a bottle. He pulled out the cork and fanned the mouth of the bottle with his hand, sniffing it. His voice was flat as he said, "1 bottle of trash spirit-restoring elixir." He could only recover 1/10 of his spiritual energy each time. The recovery effect was extremely poor. The scarlet fire poison has been added to it. The dosage is moderate and will not destroy the spirit meridians in the body. However, it will make the user feel as if they are in a fiery purgatory, causing unbearable pain. Everyone was speechless. Why did he feel that the little girl's indifferent tone sounded like she was mocking him? Was it an illusion? And a bottle of trashy spirit-restoring potion. Was there anyone who evaluated medicinal liquids like that? It was already extremely difficult for pill refiners to concoct this kind of spirit-restoring elixir. On the market, this kind of spirit-restoring elixir wasn't something that you could buy just because you had money. Most of it was concocted by pill refiners nurtured by various aristocratic families according to precious recipes. The little girl's disdain for this bottle of spirit-restoring elixir made people feel very subtle. Chapter 1964. It was as if she was saying that the #1 Heavenly Bestow Academy in Poland Prefecture could only produce this kind of trashy medicinal liquid? How embarrassing! The middle-aged tutor's face was instantly covered in a layer of soot. It was so dark that it was difficult to distinguish the color. The little girl's words were definitely infuriating. That evaluation of the spirit-restoring elixir solution made the 3 instructors of the Heavenly Bestow Academy feel like they had lost all face. You. What are you talking about? Although the little girl looked young, she was able to analyze the medicine in a clear and logical manner. The 3 tutors felt guilty for no reason. Be bastard! How could there be such a young alchemist? She must be lying to them. Your method of poisoning is extremely clumsy. The little girl added another evaluation. Little Fatty and the others who were watching the commotion couldn't help but laugh when they heard this. My God, seeing their family's Jojo's small face and expressionless poisonous tongue lecturing people, it really was a kind of visual enjoyment. Ha ha. The 3 Heavenly Bestow Academy tutors were probably so angry that their lungs were about to explode. Hearing this, one of them said angrily, "Little girl, don't speak nonsense when you can eat whatever you want. How can you prove that your judgment is correct? This poison isn't something you can casually scold people with just your words. I've been practicing medicine for decades. How could I lie to you? The little fellow opened her mouth and said this. Then, she also felt that something was wrong. The corners of Yu Gue, Chen Hanzi and the others' eyes twitched. They maintained a straight face and didn't say anything, but in reality, they were on the verge of breaking down. Little junior sister, even if you were to count the time you practiced medicine in your mother's womb, at most, you could only have practiced for 16 years. This bullsh*t of a few decades was really too exaggerated. Aber was expressionless as she continued to use her spiritual eye to check the condition of Fong Su's body. While she was chatting with the Heavenly Bestow Academy tutors, she didn't forget to insert the needles in her hand. In this short period of time, the poison in Fong Su's body was almost completely removed. Dr. Luo is here. Make way, make way. The crowd opened up a path for a trembling old man who was not very agile to walk forward. There was naturally a big difference between a doctor and an alchemist. Other things aside, refining pills wasn't something any doctor could do. This old doctor was proficient in the art of detoxification, so it was normal for him to be dragged over. Aber's acupuncture was at a crucial point, so the old doctor did not disturb her. He just watched from the side for a while and nodded repeatedly. Your acupuncture technique is exquisite. I wonder who your teacher is. Aber put away the needles and looked up at the old doctor. He said expressionlessly, My master is naturally a hidden expert. I can't reveal his name to you. Everyone. They really wanted to hit this lousy child. Usually, they would just say that their master did not allow them to reveal their name. Then, others would naturally understand that their master was an expert and would be too embarrassed to ask further. Who would directly say that their master was an expert? How immodest. The old physician smiled helplessly. He wasn't angry and walked up from the side. He first checked on Fong Su, who was lying on the ground with his eyes closed. He nodded and said, He's fine now. Then, he looked at the medicine bottle on the ground and confirmed that what Aber said was true. This kind of red fire poison isn't hard to detoxify. It's just that it will cause a lot of damage to the human body in a short period of time, the old doctor explained. It's very painful. However, the young doctor's acupuncture technique is extraordinary. The treatment is very good. Chapter 1965. I believe that this lady will wake up very soon, the old doctor said with a smile. Yu Gue thanked him and turned to look at the three teachers with ugly expressions. She asked coldly, Teacher Zhang, did you all hear that? You tell me how to solve this matter. The middle-aged teacher glanced at Yu Gue guiltily. What are you saying? Would a teacher poison his own student? The truth is right there. I don't know what's there to quibble about. Yu Gue interrupted his quibbling and looked straight at him. Teacher Zhang flew into a rage out of humiliation and turned to glare at the younger teacher beside him. Teacher Sun, you explain to them. The elixir has always been with you. How could it be poisonous? Teacher Sun said indifferently, How would I know? These elixirs were all distributed by the academy. Whoosh pa! A dictum talisman flew to Teacher Sun's body and split open. The talisman energy drilled into Instructor Sun's body, causing his entire body to stiffen. In a split second, he poured out everything he knew. It was Miss Shen who instructed me to do this. It was Shen Shinran. She gave me 10,000 spirit coins and a mystic-level spirit technique. I was ordered by her. That's why I put the fire-red poison in Yu Gue's medicine bottle. The truth was revealed in a second. Everyone was dumbfounded. Shen Shinran was so angry that her face was distorted. She stood up from her seat, pointed at Instructor Sun and screamed, Don't you dare slander me. When did I ask you to do such a thing? Ayaya, Teacher Sun, Teacher Zhang was right. You can eat whatever you want, but you can't speak whatever you want. Zhuang Meng covered her mouth and laughed. Shen Shinran's face was filled with anger. She turned to glare at Zhuang Meng. Don't cause trouble. After Instructor Sun finished speaking, it was as if he was stuck. He paused and looked around in confusion for a while. His brain seemed to have short-circuited. What did he say just now? Teacher Sun looked at Shen Shinran's angry gaze and couldn't help but be stunned. Shen Shinran, what else do you have to say? Yu Guei and the others glared at him and called out spirit swords from their conches, pointing them in Shen Shinran's direction. What do you want? Teacher Zhang's eyes flashed with anger as he glared at the few of them and said, You are all from the same academy. Now, because of a small misunderstanding, you want to draw your swords against each other? Aren't you worried about being expelled from the academy? Shen Shinran sneered as she looked at them. She pointed at Auber and said, I don't know what that little witch did to make Instructor Sun lose his composure. Just based on Instructor Sun's one-sided statement, you guys won't be able to identify me as the culprit. Just now, during the competition, you have already caused your own academy to lose because of a single mistake. And now, he was pointing his sword at his companion. Do you really think that your talents are so good that the academy can disregard the past and tolerate you? The little girl suddenly said angrily, She called me a little witch. Peony. Prince Emo calmly ordered. The peony fairy immediately flew forward and chuckled enchantingly. Without any explanation, she slapped Shen Shinran's cheeks twice. After the 2 crisp slaps, the peony fairy had a pitiful expression and said sweetly, Aya, why do women have to make things difficult for other women? Chapter 1966. Looking at the bright red handprints on Shen Shinran's left and right cheeks, everyone's gaze fell on the little girl and they all looked at her. In this kind of serious and tense atmosphere, they actually had an inexplicable urge to laugh. Why did the little girl only pay attention to others calling her a witch? Wasn't this point of focus a bit mysterious? Shen Shinran had never been insulted like this since she was young. She was so angry that every strand of hair on her body was trembling. Slave Eagle! She screamed. The attendant who was originally following behind her immediately stepped forward and aggressively reached out his claws towards Auber. You're looking for death. Prince Mo's eyes turned cold. Yu Guei and the rest had already blocked Slave Eagle's figure with their swords. They raised their legs and kicked him back a few steps. Slave Eagle wanted to make another move, but Peony Fairy moved her finger and a lightning spirit fell on Slave Eagle's head with a pa-chi sound, directly striking him and making him fall to the ground with a thud. Ayaya, I told you not to fight. Why can't you talk nicely? Peony Fairy stroked the hair on her temples and shook her head. Bullying you little kids doesn't give me any sense of accomplishment. Shen Shinran was so angry that her whole body was trembling. She pointed at Yu Guei and the rest and turned to Teacher Zhang. Teacher, these people are extremely arrogant. First, they slandered me for instigating Teacher Sun to poison, then they protected an outsider against their own classmates. They should be expelled from the academy immediately. Teacher Zhang's mouth turned down slightly. He stared at Yu Guei with a serious face and said, Apologize to Miss Shen. Do you really not want to stay in the academy any longer? There's no point in staying in a lousy academy with a degenerate teacher like you. Zhou Danjin mocked from the side. Immediately, many people from other academies agreed and started to jeer. No one was blind. The truth was in front of everyone. This Miss Shen instigated Teacher Sun to poison. How could she not be punished? This Teacher Zhang was still protecting her. It was really disgusting. All of you. Shen Shinran felt like she was being targeted by the whole world. She stomped her feet in anger. Teacher, chase them out. Teacher Zhang nodded with a cold face. Yu Guei, there's no need for you to chase us away. We'll leave on our own accord. Yu Guei raised her hand and stopped Instructor Zhang from speaking. Instructor Zhang suddenly felt as if he had punched into soft cotton. His face was livid with anger. All of a sudden, hit him. The little girl threw a rotten egg at Instructor Zhang's face. Qi Xianxian and the rest of the onlookers immediately rushed forward as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They showered Teacher Zhang with punches. Hearing the 3 mentors being beaten up by the crowd, the other students in the seating area who didn't like them also came up to give them a few punches. It wasn't until the person in charge of the arena hurriedly brought people over and separated the two sides that they saw the three Heavenly Bestow Academy instructors beaten black and blue. Teacher Zhang's finger trembled as he pointed at Arba. He was so angry that he couldn't even speak. If it wasn't for the fact that they couldn't use spiritual power to attack in the seating area, would he have been beaten up so badly? Arba pretended not to see him. He threw those scum to Qi Xianxian and the rest to deal with and ran to Senior Yu Gui's side. Feng Su had just woken up and saw her at a glance. Chapter 1967. 3. For 13 little Pao was taken aback. Then, a rare gentle smile blossomed on her face as she slowly opened her arms. Little junior sister, aren't you going to give senior sister a hug? Miss Chow threw herself into her arms and felt herself being tightly hugged. She almost couldn't hold back her tears. She thought that her tears had long dried up on the day the holy water sect was destroyed, but it turned out that they hadn't. Liar! The little girl grumbled softly, I thought you were all dead. Only the heavens knew how tragic her emotions were when she transferred everyone's corpses to Peach Garden Slope that day. She thought that everyone in the sect had been sacrificed. Only today did she realize that they weren't. This feeling of having a huge pie dropped down from the sky was a mixture of joy and sorrow. She felt like she was still in a dream even now. Big liar, Miss Chow muttered. He actually left Jojo alone in the lower star domain while all of them ran over to the middle 6 prefectures? It's a long story. We'll tell you in detail later. Yu Gui lovingly patted the little fellow's head. You've suffered these past few years. Little junior sister, it's really great to see you. Chen Hanzi and the rest's eyes glistened with tears as they spoke in choked voices. Yu Gui nodded with reddened eyes. Seeing that the others were sizing them up, she said softly, Let's go. We'll talk after we leave this place. The little fellow raised her furry head and nodded. Everyone helped Feng Su up and held Xiao Mu's small hand as they walked towards the door. Shan Xinron's angry roar rang out from the table. Yu Gui, Lu Ling, Chen Hanzi, you will regret today's decision. In the 6 prefectures continent, itinerant cultivators without an academy or clan's protection would face many problems, especially when these people were all young and beautiful girls. They really wouldn't turn back until they hit a wall. Sooner or later, they would find out that without her Shen clan's protection, they would struggle to advance in the entire Poland prefecture. Shan Xinron coldly watched them leave without looking back. She clenched her fists with a gloomy expression. There will be a time when you'll be begging me. Who's that woman with a contorted face? Miss Chow asked curiously. A strange woman. Chen Hanzi said. She has always thought that she is the eldest young miss of the Shen family of Poland Manor. She thinks that she is superior and wants to take us into her family as her servants. If we don't pay attention to her, she'll twist on her own, Ming Xia said unhappily. Don't pay attention to her. She's so full of herself. Junior sister, when did you come to the 6 prefectures continent? Yu Gui held the child's hand tightly and pulled her forward. I've been here for a long time. The little girl raised her head and glanced at them. Student Chow. Arba looked back and saw her companions not far away, smiling and waving at her. Remember to come back early later. Yes, meeting an old friend in a foreign land. The little fatty chuckled and said, I think what the Celestial Master said is right. It's worth celebrating. Arba grinned and waved his little paw at Emolien, then turned around and left with his senior sisters. Mata rubbed his eyes. I don't know if my eyes are playing tricks on me, but I think I saw Jojo smile just now. Hee, I think my eyes are playing tricks on me as well. That's right. Little fatty shook his head. Just now, Jojo smiled at them, right? Chapter 1968. 4:14 to be precise. Jojo tugged at the corner of her mouth, revealing an expression that looked like she wanted to laugh, but didn't. What a novel feeling. Qi Xianxian couldn't resist asking, Jojo calls them senior sisters. In that case, did Jojo run into people from her sect? She previously thought that Jojo had run into the group of companions she wanted to wait for at Shuntian Prefecture's entrance, but it turned out that wasn't the case. I didn't expect the little stoic to have so many beautiful senior sisters. Wuji Dao chuckled mischievously while rubbing his chin. Heh. Little Tai Sui threw him a cold glance. Looks like someone is done for. Wuji Dao was speechless. How am I done for? Think about it. Little Tai Sui said airily, Jojo values her senior sisters so much. If she knew that you were planning to attack other people, how would she treat you? When Wuji Dao recalled the little fellow's methods, he seemed to catch Boss shooting him a threatening glance from the corner of his eye. He quickly shut his mouth and didn't dare to say anything else. He was someone who knew how to adapt to circumstances. Between his life and women, he would still choose his life. On the other side, Auber followed her senior sisters back to their inn. As soon as she closed the door, everyone couldn't resist running up to Auber and patting her head in passing. Little junior sister, have you been well on Seekong Planet these past few years? Have you suffered a lot? Look, you've lost a lot of weight. Auber didn't have time to interject when she heard them asking her questions at once. Beside her, Yugue couldn't resist laughing and saying, with the Crown Prince of Mo Kingdom around, I think little junior sister can't endure any grievances. Auber nodded her small head, indicating that she didn't suffer any grievances. Fong Su sat at the table and looked up at Auber. She said with a smile, don't talk at once. Pick the main points and tell little junior sister about them first. There's still plenty of time in the future, so we can talk about those trivial matters later. Yugue nodded and said, that's right. Senior sister, let's bring little junior sister back. Mingxia said, if second martial uncle knows that junior sister is here, he will definitely be overjoyed. Auber's eyes lit up. 2. Second martial uncle? Yugue nodded. Master is fine. Master and Auntie E led us and found a house in Poland Mansion to stay for the time being. Little junior sister, you still have to continue competing. It won't take much time. When you're done, we'll... Senior sister. Fong Su didn't quite agree. What kind of competition is that? Why do you still care about it? It's more important for us to return to the sect and see Master. If Master knew that little junior sister is coming, he would definitely go crazy with joy. Auber nodded. Yugue couldn't help but glare at her with a smile. She grabbed Auber's little hand and said, don't worry about your senior sister, she's impatient. You're representing your academy, so you can't just give up halfway. Furthermore, if he won, he could go to Brinset Island to cultivate in the spirit realm. This is a rare opportunity. Don't miss it. Auber thought for a moment and then nodded. The matter of going to spirit realm was related to whether or not Little Tree could recover. They couldn't give up so easily. We can't escape from that house in Poland Mansion either. When the competition is over, before we go to Brinset Island, I will definitely take you there. Okay. Everyone smiled at each other. Although they hadn't seen each other for many years, they still felt that the connection between them was so close. Some words didn't need to be said. They understood everything as they looked at each other. Chapter 1969. Little junior sister, Master was very worried about you. Yugue held Auber's small hand and said softly, when our group safely moved to this unfamiliar place called Poland Manor, Master especially regretted not bringing you along. Master kept muttering that if she knew there was a special talisman matrix in the ancestral hall, she would have brought you back with her. Yugue hugged the little fellow and lightly patted her back. She said softly, you don't know how much Master blamed herself. That jumpy and dunce Master really changed a lot these few years. Senior sister. I thought you all were dead, Auber murmured. She thought she was the only one left in the Holy Water sect. It wasn't until she met Doya that she realized she wasn't alone. But now, wasn't this a little too much of a surprise for her? Although Jojo still looked expressionless, she was actually very jubilant in her heart. The little fellow had already learned from her senior sisters that the 200 people the Holy Water sect moved away, including second Ant Master Yong Shirong. They were all diligently cultivating in Poland manner and were living well. She was in a very happy mood right now. This was a feeling of cherishing something she had lost and then regained. She originally thought that she had to take revenge for the sect alone and shoulder the responsibility of reviving the sect. But now it was still not too late. There were still people in the Holy Water sect, there were still quite a few people. Everyone was here. That feeling of finally not fighting alone made her feel too carefree and excited. The 7 people chatted in the room until nightfall. Only then did Arbor pull Yugue's hand and say, "Senior sister, you should check out of this inn and stay at our place. We have a nouveau riche mentor who booked the entire 3rd floor of the inn. There are still quite a few rooms." Yugue laughed in spite of herself. "Won't it be too troublesome for your mentor?" "It won't be." Arbor shook her head with an expression that said, "If Mentor Zhou dares to despise senior sister, I'll beat him to death." Chen Hanzi patted her head and said with a smile, "Okay. We'll go with Jojo. We still have to watch Jojo's competition tomorrow." "That's right." Arbor became even happier. Old Hong had also said that there would be no empty slots tomorrow. This meant that Jojo could finally find someone to fight. Jojo was excited at the thought of being able to beat someone up. After checking out of the inn, they followed Xiao Mu to the inn that the top-notch academy had reserved. As soon as he stepped out of the inn, he saw 3 teachers from the Heavenly Bestow Academy with bruises all over their faces, leading a group of shrimp soldiers and crab generals back. The 2 teams just happened to bump into each other. The faces of the 3 instructors, whose swollen faces instantly darkened. They glared at the people from Arbor and scolded angrily, "How dare you come back?" The students of the Heavenly Bestow Academy immediately surrounded Arbor's group as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Pairs of eyes glared at them like tigers eyeing their prey. Zhuang Meng covered her mouth and laughed. "Student Yugue, this is really unfortunate." There were only 7 people at Yugue's side. That powerful woman called Peony wasn't there, and the others weren't there either. Wouldn't it be easy for the Heavenly Bestow Academy to capture them? Shan Shinran also hooted, "What are you waiting for? Take all these people down." That slut called Peony had dared to slap her, Shan Shinran, twice. Now, she was going to return everything to that slut in front of her. The car broke down. The author is still on the way. I'll let you know. The update will probably be at 10 o'clock. Chapter 1970. Without so many powerful helpers, let's see what this little bitch can do now. Shan Shinran waved her hand and 2 servants appeared behind her. They fiercely pounced in Arbor's direction. However, before they could get close, Arbor leisurely took out a bead from his pocket and smashed it on the ground. Spiritual energy bead. Everyone get out of the way. The 3 teachers with bruised noses and swollen faces screamed at the same time and jumped back like birds startled by the twang of a bow. Bang! The thunderous sound alarmed many of the residents in the surroundings. Everyone rushed out of their houses. The 3 teachers from Heaven Bestowing Academy cursed angrily and waved the dust in front of them. Cough cough, cough cough cough. The group of students from Heaven Bestowing Academy were all covered in dust and coughing violently. This didn't seem to be a spiritual energy bead. With the power of a spiritual energy bead, if it smashed down at such a close distance, they would definitely be injured. And looking at the ground now, it didn't even make a big hole. It was obvious that this was a fake spiritual energy bead specially used to scare people. Cough, cough, cough. Shen Shinran waved the dust in front of her and screamed, "Idiots, they ran away." Everyone was a bit angry but didn't dare to say anything. This Shan Shinran always acted high and mighty, scolding this idiot and that idiot. Wasn't she stupid herself? The little girl from the top academy ran away. Was it their fault? Shan Shinran, also didn't catch her. A student from Heaven Bestowing Academy scratched his wrist and said angrily, "Who knew that the little girl from the top academy was so cunning? If that little bitch wasn't cunning, How could she have drawn the empty number twice in a row? Shen Shinran said angrily, "A group of brainless people. What are you still standing here for? Don't you feel like you haven't been laughed at enough? Let's go back." She took the lead and walked towards the inn. As she walked, she subconsciously scratched her back and felt a strange itch. Xin, Shinran, help me take a look. Why does my neck feel itchy? Zhuang Meng quietly pulled Shen Shinran and said in a low voice. Shen Shinran immediately became alert. You're itchy too? She also felt an itch on her back. Could it be that there was something wrong with the smoke from the bead that the wretched girl threw down just now? At this moment, someone in the crowd suddenly laughed out loud. Look, there's hair on their faces. Shen Shinran hurriedly turned around to look. Tufts of green hair grew on the originally swollen faces of the 3 instructors from the Heavenly Bestowing Academy. It was especially strange and eye-catching. Several students were so frightened that they took a step back. Staring at the faces of the 3 instructors, they cried out involuntarily, "Instructors! Your faces!" Teacher Zhang, who had been scratching his face, turned his head to take a look. He was so frightened by Teacher Sun's hairy face that he almost fainted. Instructor Sun's face, which was originally considered normal, was now covered with a layer of green hair. A pair of eyes hidden behind the long hair looked at him faintly. It was as if he was looking at someone who would hurt him as much as he wanted to. Instructor Sun! Instructor Zhang screamed. A discordant cry came from the crowd. Don't tell me they have turned into zombies? What? Quickly report to the city lord. Instructor Zhang hurriedly took 2 steps forward and said loudly to the crowd, "Don't talk nonsense, we are not zombies. No." Chapter 1971. The surrounding commoners saw him striding forward with a face full of green hair. His appearance was somewhat terrifying. How would they dare to continue watching? They hurriedly turned around and scattered like birds and beasts. For a moment, not a single person was left on the street. Only the teachers and students of Heaven Bestowing Academy were left. They looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Itchy, so itchy. Hurry and help me take a look. My neck, the back of my neck. All right, let's go back to our rooms first. Teacher Zhang scolded angrily and was about to step into the inn with a face full of green hair. That inn owner rushed out with a row of workers and blocked everyone outside. You guys don't come in. Monster. Hurry and report to the city lord. They've turned into zombies. I'll beat you up, you brainless fellow. Teacher Zhang and Teacher Sun raised their fists and wanted to beat up that inn owner. Are you stupid? Their brains were clear and their thoughts were very clear. They were clearly living people. How could they have turned into zombies? Zombies my ass. Go. Bad luck. The inn owner shrieked. I won't charge you for the tea for these 2 days. Hurry and scram. Let me tell you, the city lord's guards are about to arrive. If you don't leave, you bunch of monsters will be sent to jail. Who's a monster? Who are you calling a monster? Shen Shinran was so angry that her entire body trembled. She wanted to pounce forward but was stopped by Zhuang Meng. Shinran, hurry and help me take a look. Look at your dead head. Shen Shinran forcefully swatted Zhuang Meng's arm away and pointed at her face full of green hair. Can't you look at others? Look at my face. Don't have any wishful thinking. Everyone is the same now. Zhuang Meng shrieked and held her face full of green hair. She shrieked in disbelief. How could this be? What's going on? Are you a pig? You still don't know what's going on? Shen Shinran poked Zhuang Meng's head and scolded harshly. This must be the poison from that little bitch just now. What kind of poison is so powerful that it can actually disfigure us? Zhuang Meng couldn't believe it at all. Liar, you're lying. I want to go back to my room and look at the mirror. I want to go back. Go away. A few of the workers blocked Zhuang Meng's path with long sticks. The shopkeeper shrunk behind a few of his employees and only stuck his head out. He screamed at them laughably, "Get lost, get lost, get lost. You bunch of green-furred monsters, don't even think about coming to our store to torment the other customers. Get out of here. You." Shen Xinran and the others were about to explode from anger. In the midst of the dispute, the large number of guards sent by the city lord's mansion had indeed arrived. They surrounded the entire street and sent people to guard the main entrances and exits. A group of people rushed towards the inn. "We are from the Heavenly Academy who have come to Flourishing Magnificent City for the competition. The Heavenly Bestow Academy of the Poland Prefecture." Instructor Zhang shouted loudly, "We are not monsters, nor are we zombies. We were just poisoned by a scoundrel, that's why. Do you think I'm stupid?" The leader of the guards raised his hand and interrupted Instructor Zhang's words. "Do you think I haven't seen people poisoned? I want to ask you, what kind of people would become like you after being poisoned?" Chapter 1972. Green fur growing all over their bodies and their eyes turning red? They're clearly turning into zombies. What? Put on your protective gear, be careful not to get bitten by these zombified monsters. The leader shouted and ordered, "Surround them and take them all down." "We're not zombies. We're not. Our minds are very clear. We're not." What a joke. Which zombie would admit that they're about to turn into zombies? The leader sneered and waved his hand. All the city guards charged forward and used their spears and iron spears to form a circle, capturing all the people from Heaven Bestow Academy in one fell swoop. "You bunch of idiots! Who would be like us when they turn into zombies? Why would we waste time talking to you? I already told you that we're poisoned." Before Instructor Zhang could finish his sentence, a fist smashed into his furry face. It was so painful that the corner of his mouth twitched. "You guys are a bunch of idiots. Other people have black faces and purple lips when they're poisoned, who would have fur growing all over their bodies. Is this what your family's poison looks like?" Pfft. Fong Su, who was hiding in the corner and peeking, couldn't hold back her laughter. Lu Ling also covered her mouth and laughed. Yu Gui pulled at the two of them, indicating for them to keep quiet. "Ah! Let go of me, let go of me." Shan Xinran's scream made everyone's gaze fall on her. They saw a big green furry person struggling in the hands of two guards wearing protective gear. Her furry face was so distorted that it was impossible to see her original appearance. "You, what do you want to do? Let go of me. Let go. I'm the young miss of Poland Manor's Shen family. You dare to treat me like this? My father, Patriarch Shen, won't let you off." "Ah! Ah!" While struggling, she forcefully twisted her two furry arms, causing the clothes on her back to rip apart. Shan Xinran froze when she heard the sound of the cloth tearing. Then, she let out an earth-shattering scream. "Ah! You guys, you actually dare to treat me like this? Ah! Ah!" This was like the last wail of a pure and innocent maiden before she was brutally trampled upon. However, the guards all looked at her with disdain. After her earth-shattering screams subsided, the head guard impatiently slapped Shan Xinran's face. "What are you shouting for? What kind of celestial being do you think you are? You're covered in green fur. Just looking at you makes me lose my appetite." Shan Xinran's entire body froze. This was the first time she had been so despised by men. Moreover, it was a group of lowly guards. Fong Su didn't mind watching the drama unfold. She was about to open her mouth to mock them when Chan Hanzi stopped her. "Let's go. The drama is almost over." If they were discovered by the people of the Heavenly Bestowing Academy that they had been hiding on the side and watching the commotion, then it would be a big mess. Aber nodded. "Let's go." Rather than continue tormenting himself with this group of idiots from the Heavenly Bestow Academy, he might as well return to the inn and rest. Speaking of which, the sky was now completely dark. Arbor reached out and rubbed her small belly. She wondered if that group of foodies was still waiting for her to return. Junior sister, how did they become like that? Jiang Qi asked with a face full of curiosity. Was it the poisonous smoke that floated out when that pearl was smashed open? Chapter 1973. Arbor nodded, then shook her head. It's not poison, it's just a kind of medicine that accelerates hair growth. I'm a good person. The little fellow patted her chest. We have to clearly distinguish between gratitude and grudges when dealing with people. The one who poisoned senior sister was that Shan Shinran. We can just poison her back. As for the others, they're just small fries. We can just teach them a lesson while we're at it. Yu Gui silently twitched her mouth. So Shan Shinran really did hit the jackpot, didn't she? I couldn't tell at all. Fong Su excitedly rubbed her hands. From what I can see, Shan Shinran's symptoms are pretty much the same as the others. In another hour, she'll be much worse. Little junior sister, what kind of poison did you give Shan Shinran? Everyone asked curiously. Shan Shinran gave senior sister fire red poison before. So I modified this fire red poison a bit and gave it to her. Alright, it's giving her a taste of her own medicine. Everyone nodded in understanding and followed little junior sister back to Tranquil Inn. We're staying on the 3rd floor. Arbor led everyone up the stairs. When they turned the corner on the 2nd floor, they happened to see 2 men walking out side by side. When they saw the 7 girls, they couldn't help but take a few more glances. Xiao Mu looked up and saw that the man on her left was precisely the man who had courteously yielded to her from time to time during the last 2 times they drew lots on the stage. Hence, she expressionlessly nodded at him as a greeting. That man smiled and also nodded at her. He stepped aside to let the 7 of them walk up. Another man's voice came from behind. Senior Brother Li, are those girls the ones who had a falling out with Heavenly Bestow Academy and were chased out by Heavenly Bestow Academy? Amen, don't be nosy. Little junior sister, you even know Li Nanshan. What Li Nanshan? I don't know her. Miss Chow replied without even thinking. Yu Gui and the others looked at each other. Fong Su couldn't help but want to laugh. But just now, you... How could Miss Chow still listen to the words of her senior sisters? At this moment, her eyes were filled with that young Master Mo who was standing at the door of the room. Under the illumination of the candlelight, his phoenix eyes were slightly raised as he looked at her with a smile. Beautiful. Such a good-looking man was Jojo's. Miss Chow ran over happily, and her warm and soft hands were immediately held by the Crown Prince. Aya, my little girl. Didn't I tell you to come back earlier? What time is it now? The door of the room was open from the inside, and a group of people walked out. Jojo, I had 2 desserts in the afternoon and have been waiting for you. When are we eating? Sure enough, this group of foodies was waiting for her. Arbor couldn't help but find it a little funny. 2 little fingers supported the corner of his mouth and raised it up. Am I laughing? Everyone was speechless. No. Are you guys going to order today? Wow, I can really order today. I'll order. He ordered the food. I want to eat crystal meat. I'll order ahat prawns. I really want to eat smoked duck today. It would be even more beautiful if there was a pot of peach blossom wine. Heh. Arbor grabbed Prince Mo's hand and walked into the crowd. I was just saying. You took it seriously again. You. The little girl expressionlessly picked and chose the dishes in the food box, occasionally asking, Do you want mutton soup? Yes. Chapter 1974. The meal lasted until almost 10 o'clock in the night. Everyone chatted about wine and food until the middle of the night before leaving. Miss Chow had drunk a few cups of fruit wine and was a little tipsy. When everyone had left the room, Prince Mo carried Miss Chow, who was half sprawled on the table, and quickly walked to the bathtub. Auber opened her eyes, her little cheeks appearing a little flushed under the candlelight. Did I smile? The little fellow pushed her cheeks and insisted on asking the Crown Prince. Crown Prince Mo couldn't help but chuckle on the inside when he saw that she was a bit drunk and was displaying all sorts of naivety. He turned her small head to face him and kissed her cheek forcefully before replying with a shake of his head, not laughing. The little fellow instantly puffed up her cheeks and reached out to grab his collar. I wanted to smile for you guys. Emolien was a little happy and a little sad at the same time. This little fellow had been suppressing her emotions for a long time and was used to putting on an expressionless face in front of others, so it wasn't easy for her to smile. You can smile. He reached out to carry her, slowly unbuttoning her outer clothes and placing her in the bathtub. Today, Jojo found her lost senior sisters, so of course you should smile properly. Auber nodded her head vigorously and said crisply, I'm happy. Emolien reached out to hold her little face and pressed his forehead against hers, softly saying, Jojo, treat yourself a little better in the future, okay? Shouldn't a child of her age be very willful and reckless? Who would suppress their emotions like her? Moreover, with her current status, so what if she was unbridled and arrogant? That was something she could do. Auber reached out to hug Emolien's neck and leaned on his shoulder. For some reason, she couldn't stop her tears from falling. Lien, second martial uncle didn't die. Second martial uncle didn't die. I thought they were all dead, but they weren't. I'm very happy. I don't know how to tell you. Emolien raised his hand to caress the back of her head as he replied softly with a nod, I know, I understand. My Jojo has never been alone. Auber pulled away slightly and looked at him with his misty eyes. Suddenly, he kissed him on the cheek. How do you know everything? Prince Mo was momentarily stunned. He blinked at her and said, Do you still remember the first time we met? At that time, you were still mute. I can read every single one of your eyes. It was fate that brought us together. You're the mute. She bit his ear. Emolien stiffened and pulled her away a few inches. He coughed lightly and narrowed his eyes. Jojo, why don't I help you take a bath? He originally thought that he would be punched on the head by the little fellow and then be chased out by her in embarrassment. Unexpectedly, Auber nodded vigorously and raised her hands high with an expression that said, You do it. Student Crown Prince froze from head to toe. Including his expression, the expression on his handsome face was completely stiff. What's going on? Why didn't he follow the routine? He just wanted to tease his little wife. He didn't expect that he would be teased by his wife again. I'll go see if there's any hot water left. Prince Mo jumped up from the bathtub and practically ran out of the door. Heavens, he didn't want to do his little wife on the spot in this rundown inn. The sixth watch ended. Chapter 1975. Auber's raised hands were still hanging in the air. She looked at the Crown Prince who was running away and shouted angrily, What an unromantic guy! It's rare for me to be so merciful and give you a chance to serve me closely. It's fine if you don't take it, but you actually ran away. Idiot! Auber jumped into the tub and leaned against the side of the tub. She stared at the closed door and snorted. Can't you just use your fire spirit to heat it up? Why did you look for hot water? Hubby. The water is too cold. Are you trying to freeze me to death? Prince Mo ran out of the door to breathe in the fresh air. His mind cleared up a little. When he heard Jojo calling him from inside the room, he became hot-headed and hurriedly pushed open the door and walked in. He closed the door and went behind the screen to take a look. The little fellow was completely submerged in the water, only her little head poking out from the side of the tub. Her beautiful black hair floated on the surface of the water, soft and curly like loose seaweed. Jojo, where's the hot water you brought? The little fellow glanced at him with disdain. Emolien. Who the hell remembers what hot water is? Heat it up. Arbor propped her little chin on the tub and looked at the man with sparkling eyes. A few round beads of water hung on her tipsy little face. Emolien hastily walked up, and a cluster of fiery red flames flashed past his palm. Arbor immediately felt the temperature of the water in the tub slowly rise. She snorted with satisfaction. "Hubby, didn't you want to bathe me?" A certain someone leaned against the tub and blinked at the man. Emolien felt like his heart was about to jump out of his chest. How could this little fellow be so lovable? Prince Emo raised his hand to pinch her smooth little face and gritted his teeth. "Baby, don't play with fire, okay?" "I'm not playing with fire." Miss Chow held a handful of water with her fingers and gently flicked it. The water droplets splashed onto Emolien's face. "This is clearly water." Prince Emo gritted his teeth again and reached out to hug her. "If you piss me off, you'll have to bear the consequences." Surprisingly, the little guy stretched out his two little hands in an easygoing manner, with a hug expression on his face. Her adorable little face was stained with tiny droplets of water. Under the dim candlelight, the little fellow's eyes were blurred, causing the crown prince to be in a trance for a moment. He subconsciously reached out to hold her soft and smooth little hand. With this touch, his entire body quivered and his vision became clearer. He quickly let go of his wife's hand and covered her head with a silk handkerchief. His Highness the Crown Prince, who had always been decisive in killing, was unexpectedly unable to speak clearly for the first time. You wash it yourself. I'm going back to my room to rest. Don't play with the water. Go to bed early after bathing. I'll see you tomorrow." Swish. Bang. The door was slammed shut. Arbor's finger brushed against the surface of the water. He propped up his chin with one hand and huffed, "You have evil intentions but no guts." Not long after, Arbor climbed out of the tub. He wiped himself clean and put on a clean set of clothes. He opened the window and glanced next door, his eyes rolling. Knock, knock, knock. Prince Mo had just tidied himself up and sat at the table to drink some water when he heard someone knocking on his door. It couldn't be his wife, right? Emolien got up and opened the door. A faint fragrance assailed his nostrils. The little fellow took advantage of the situation and threw herself into his arms. Prince Mo was immediately enveloped in a soft and warm embrace. Chapter 1976. Jojo, you're drunk. The Crown Prince finally understood why the little fellow was acting so strangely today. I'm not drunk. The little fellow waved her little hand with a proud expression. How could I be drunk? I only drank 3 cups of fruit wine. That's right, you drank 3 cups of fruit wine and you're drunk. Don't deny it. The Crown Prince hurriedly carried the little fellow into the room and kicked the door shut while he was at it. Hubby. Miss Chow kept blowing warm air into his ear, her eyes blurred. Why are you so useless? You were scared just now. I'm not scared. Hearing his wife say that as a man, how could Prince Mo admit that he was scared? Then why aren't you looking at me? The little fellow reached out to hold his handsome face and leaned over. Her little face rubbed against the side of his face as she breathed softly. Hubby, look. I'll be 16 after the new year. I'm 16. She kept whispering into his ear as she exhaled. That Ahua from our village was already a mother of 2 children at the age of 16. Classmate Emolien's mood at this moment changed from extreme suppression to gradually surging, and then to this very moment. She wanted to throw caution to the wind. No, his little wife had already sent out such an invitation. How could he disappoint his wife? Wife, this husband understands what you mean. Although the time and place of the consummation was a bit off, however, since the time had come and his wife had invited him so enthusiastically again and again, if he still didn't go, wouldn't that be recklessly wasting a gift from heaven and not knowing what was good for him? Baby, wait for me here. Prince Mo excitedly placed his little wife on the bed and kissed her hard. Then he turned around and took out a pair of red candles from his inner world. His Highness, who always carried a pair of red candles with him, quickly lit the wedding candles. Since we're going to consummate the marriage, then we can't be too casual, right? No matter how simple and crude it is, the wedding candles can't be missing. When the crown prince finished what he was doing, he turned around and ran to the bedside to take a look. He saw the little fellow sprawled out on his bed, hugging a pillow. He had long since fallen into a deep sleep. Crown Prince was speechless. "Are you kidding me?" The corner of Prince Mo's mouth twitched. He sat down on the edge of the bed, extended a slender finger, and gently poked a certain someone's soft little face. Under the illumination of the red candles, the little fellow was sleeping sweetly. His brows were relaxed, and the corners of his lips were slightly raised. Seeing her sleeping so peacefully and comfortably, Prince Mo's lips curled into a smile. Emolienne raised a hand to touch her delicate brows and eyes. She turned and lay down beside her. Propping up her chin with one hand, she stared at her for a long time before murmuring softly, "What should I do with you?" The next day, Arbor woke up in a daze and heard the crisp chirping of birds outside the window. Xiao Mu reflexively opened her small mouth and yawned. She shifted her body and creased her small brows in confusion. "Strange, why doesn't it feel like a bed underneath me? Good morning, Chow Chow." A handsome face that was just inches away from her was reflected in her eyes. "Wah!" Arbor moved her little body and almost rolled off him. Emolienne stretched out his long arm and immediately pulled her back. He blinked and smiled. "You pressed on top of me the whole night and you want to run away without saying anything? How could it be so easy in this world?" Chapter 1977. Miss Chow's face inexplicably turned completely red. "No, no. It's you? Why are you here?" Arbor wanted to get up, but a pair of arms were hooked around his waist, causing him to struggle for a long time. "Don't you remember?" Emolienne frowned and pinched her little face. "You are. After you got drunk yesterday, you kept asking your husband to help you bathe. After bathing, you even insisted on hugging your husband to sleep." "Nonsense, nonsense." The little fellow immediately stuttered. Her little hand reached over and hit his head hard. "Big liar. How could I be so ridiculous? Don't try to deny it, you were acting crazy when you were drunk. Now that you're awake, you won't admit it." Emolienne looked at her bitterly and pointed at her little body that was lying on top of him. "Do you see that? Evidence. For an entire night, your husband almost couldn't breathe under the pressure." Arbor hurriedly tried to get up. How are you? Are you feeling unwell anywhere? Could it be that her alcohol tolerance was really that bad? It couldn't be. Although her character wasn't that great, she still had a bottom line. Her alcohol tolerance shouldn't be that bad. "My head is uncomfortable, my limbs are numb. I can't breathe," Emolienne said faintly with his eyes slightly closed. Then what should we do?" Arbor reached out to hold his wrist. "I'll take your pulse and then give you acupuncture to unblock your muscles and bones. There's no need to go through so much trouble." Emolienne flipped over. Miss Chow only felt that the world was spinning. When she raised her head again, she saw Prince Mo pressing down on top of her head. "Let's change the direction of your head," Emolienne said softly as he propped up his chin with one hand beside her cheek. What are you doing?" The little fellow suddenly felt that she had lost some of her confidence. She didn't know why, but this position made her feel a little creepy. She felt that the gentle crown prince in front of her could very well turn into a wild wolf in the next second. "Feeling guilty, baby? What am I feeling guilty about?" Arbor stubbornly defended herself. I'm not feeling guilty at all. What are you feeling guilty about? If you knew what kind of terrible things you did to me last night, you wouldn't have said those words just now." I don't remember anything." The little fellow put on a shameless face. I didn't do anything. Heh." He reached out and rubbed her little face. Do you still remember what you said to me last night? Tell me, when Xiaohua was your age, she was already the mother of 2 children. Aber instantly felt like she had been struck by lightning. She pulled the thin blanket next to her and covered her face with it. Damn it, how could she say such shameful words? Her brain yesterday. Emolien twitched his mouth, and he pretended to be serious as he tugged at the thin blanket covering her face. What cover? I haven't finished speaking yet. That's not the only thing you did to me yesterday. I don't even remember. The little fellow's muffled voice came from under the thin blanket. It's okay. I remember everything. I'll tell you one by one. Hua. The little fellow hurriedly lifted the thin blanket on her face and reached out her little paw to seal the crown prince's mouth. You're not allowed to say it. Prince Mo tugged her little hand down and smiled as he lightly bit the little finger that she had brought to his lips. How are you going to compensate me? Chapter 1978. I can see that you're quite happy. Don't try to lie to me. The little fellow stuttered as she finished speaking, feeling that her little face was so hot that it was about to boil. Prince Mo giggled. He held her fingers and kissed them one by one before nodding and saying, Although I can see that you're quite happy, that doesn't mean that you can always tease this crown prince and run away, right? I didn't run away. Miss Chow stubbornly cried out. Where did I run away? She was still being pressed down by him right now. Prince Mo slightly lowered his body and whispered into her ear with a chuckle, If I wasn't pressing down on you, you would have run away long ago. Do you believe me? Gulp. The little fellow swallowed her saliva and hurriedly reached out to cover his sparkling phoenix eyes. You're not allowed to look. I'm panicking from looking. How can you not look? Prince Mo pulled down her little hand with a serious expression. I didn't know what eyes were used for in the past. Now that I know, it's to look at you. If you don't let me look at you, then what's the use of having eyes? The little fellow shrank herself into the thin blanket and covered her head. Her little face was boiling hot as she cried out in a muffled voice, You're teasing me. What's wrong with this guy today? Whispering sweet nothing so early in the morning, it made her flustered and her heart fluttered like a little deer. Wifey. Prince Mo slightly curled his lips and dug her little face out from the blanket. He looked at her with a grin and his fingers pushed a strand of hair in front of her eyes to the back of her head. You'll be 16 after the new year. Aber really wanted to dig a hole and bury herself. A while ago, she had indeed been thinking that Jojo would be 16 after the new year. 16 would be a big girl. Recently, her body had been well nourished. Compared to her previous life, she was completely too healthy. Moreover, she had indeed thought of that little flower in Kyoto village. 16 years old and she was already the mother of 2 children. But this was only what she thought in her heart. How would she know that she had blurted out everything to the crown prince when she was drunk? So angry. Wife, let's make a deal. When you're 16, we'll... Boom. Miss Chow punched the back of the crown prince's head, took out a body-securing talisman, and slapped it on the crown prince's forehead. Crown prince was speechless. We're going to draw lots for the competition today. Get up quickly. Aber pushed his body with all his might. Like a little octopus, he hugged his limbs and rolled around. Then he quickly slid down from the bed. Want to run away again? Emolien sat up and grabbed the little fellow's wrist. This habit of running away after flirting had to be changed. Aber coughed. He didn't run. You. Why are you in such a hurry? Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. After saying that, he quickly put on his clothes and ran out without looking back. Crown Prince was speechless. After one night, his wifey completely refused to admit what she said yesterday. What should he do? The Crown Prince pondered as he got up to put on his coat and tied his belt. His fingers paused on the tassel of the jade pendant on his waist, and his eyes lit up. The 101 votes continued. Hand Q, motion, reading, my, activity center, Creation God 101. Vote for me, Zi Yunqi. I'll update 10,000 times in the next 3 days. Throw in all your precious monthly votes. I'll probably update very late today, so you don't have to wait for me. Chapter 1979. When his wife mentioned the boat, she was probably telling him that when the time came, success would naturally follow naturally. Even if the boat didn't straighten, he could just ask someone to straighten it. Crown Prince Amo intuitively felt that his thoughts were very reasonable, and he walked out of the door neatly dressed with curved eyes. He waved his paw at his wifey, who was exercising her small hands and feet under the porch. Wifey, hubby understands your meaning. Show. His wifey immediately ran back to her room and closed the door. She didn't give him a single glance. She's shy again, the Crown Prince thought with a melancholy face. Perhaps he should prepare a few bottles of fruit wine? An hour later, everyone gathered in the hall on the first floor. They casually ate the breakfast provided by the store and planned to head to the Shanghua Gladiator Arena. Today is the first battle of our elite academy. Everyone must compete well. Bring out 100,000% of your spirit. Students, today is the day to fight for the glory of our elite academy. Instructor Zhou finished his impassioned speech. When he turned around, black lines immediately appeared on his forehead. He saw that everyone was dragging their feet a dozen meters away from him with an expression that said, "I don't know this person." Just now, Zhou Donjin's provocative words had caused the surrounding citizens to point and whisper among themselves, covering their mouths and laughing secretly. In this world, there was no teacher more miserable than him, Zhou Danjin thought. Ahem. Ahem. Zhou Danjin stretched out his hand, but before he could touch Zhou's shoulder, she turned her head and dodged. After Qiao Mu ran away, Qi Xianxian, Little Fatty, and the others naturally didn't pass on their responsibilities. With a whoosh, they brushed past Instructor Zhou. Instructor Zhou was flustered and exasperated as he raised his finger and pointed at the students who ran away. A group of little brats. A group of little brats. When he talked to them about serious matters, they all ran faster than rabbits. Everyone quickly arrived at the entrance of the Shanghua Gladiator Arena. As usual, they greeted the stewards and went in. Only this time, the two stewards looked at Yu Guei and the others with a very strange expression. Teacher Zhou stopped in his tracks and turned to look at that person. Does Elder Hong have any instructions? Oh no. The steward quickly shook his head and smiled. I just feel that these girls are quite lucky. Not long after leaving the Heavenly Bestowing Academy, something had happened to everyone there. Now, they've all contracted a strange disease with green hair growing all over their bodies. They've been completely controlled by our City Lord's mansion's gods. Instructor Zhou was stunned for a moment, then he nodded. When he left the door and walked towards the arena. Only then did Zhou Danjin cast an imperceptible glance at Qiao Mu. He coughed lightly and asked, "Did you do it?" Aber looked at him expressionlessly. "Do I look like someone who would do something so boring?" "Why doesn't it look like it? It was too similar, wasn't it?" "Nope." Darling Qiao shook her head in all seriousness and snorted. "If I were to make a move, I would naturally want them dead." "That's true." The others nodded in agreement. As they walked to their seating area, they saw people waiting for them from afar. Seeing them come over, Soaring Flower Academy's captain, Gu Lioli, quickly walked towards them. She crossed her arms and said, "I've finally waited for you guys. Why are you waiting for us?" Little Fatty laughed strangely. "Are we that close to you?" Chapter 1980. Gu Lioli's face darkened as she said angrily, "Go away. Let your team leader speak." Everyone moved to the side to make way. As the team leader for this competition, it was naturally Duanmu Qing. Duanmu Qing frowned as he walked out of the crowd, looking at the girl in front of him indifferently. What's the matter? You're the team leader of the top academy? Gu Lioli sized up Duanmu Qing and nodded. That's good. This is our Flying Flower Academy's challenge letter. Whoosh! A thin piece of paper flew towards Duanmu Qing's hand. Duanmu Qing stretched out 2 fingers and lightly pinched it. With a slight shake of his wrist, that thin piece of paper immediately slid down from his fingertips, shaking it into a silk book. The 2 words, challenge letter, entered everyone's eyes. This was Flying Flower Academy's challenge letter to their top academy. If the top academy did not want to be looked down upon, they had to accept it. No matter what, they had to accept it. Duanmu Qing coldly glanced at Gu Lioli, nodded, and took down the challenge letter. The top academy will accept the challenge as promised. The crowd of onlookers instantly burst into an uproar. F***CK, this was really surging with excitement. He didn't know what kind of background this top-notch academy had. Why would the Flying Flower Academy target it? Flying Flower Academy was an existence that was second only to the 4 great academies in Shuntian Prefecture. Their strength was not to be underestimated. This top academy, on the other hand, was unknown and had never been heard of before. Was there even a need to talk about this competition? That would definitely be a complete victory for Soaring Flower Academy, right? Everyone was guessing in their hearts, unable to hide the excitement on their faces. This was too exciting. Gu Lioli. Duanmu Qing coldly said this name and kept the challenge letter in his hand. His eyes were vast and misty as he looked at the other party. You will pay the price for your rashness today. After saying that, he turned and left. Gu Lioli clenched her fists and wanted to angrily rebuke, but she saw the group of people from the top academy looking disinterested as they turned and followed Zhou Danjin and the rest back to their seats. Gu Lioli's heart was filled with anger as she clenched her fists tightly, turned and left quickly. Gu Lioli didn't know which match would be arranged, in which match she would be fighting against a top academy. However, she was not afraid. Even if she was arranged to fight in the first round, it did not matter. She had already prepared enough means to deal with them. Now, it was time for the student representatives to draw lots on stage. Looking at Auber's figure on the stage again, even a fool would know that the little guy who drew the bye twice in a row was probably a very lucky person. But this time, because they didn't have a bye, the future of the top academies was uncertain. Everyone looked at Xiao Mu as if they were watching a good show. Auber had already finished drawing lots and was waiting at the side. At this time, when he saw everyone looking at him, the little guy held a bamboo stick in his hand and stared back at them one by one. What are you looking at? All right, same old rules. Those who sign the same number, stand together. Number 3. Auber looked at the bamboo stick in his hand and searched for the number 3 representative in the crowd. Who's number 3? Number 3. What, you drew number 3? Suddenly, there was a mournful cry from the other side. Auber turned his head and saw Hippopotamus Academy's team leader, Sha Gua, holding a bamboo stick and staring blankly at him. His eyes were almost condensed into tears. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.